Okay, it says we are live. Hey, y'all. Hello, hello, hello. Find it. Okay, there we go. Come on in the room and get ready for a fun discussion, honey. Okay, it says we are live. Hey, y'all.
I did.
Because we got to talk about this. We got so much to talk about tonight because I got some questions, some things I need to know. Need to get some understanding because the women, we're not understanding. So we're going to talk
Need to make
about,
sure the guys is well represented today.
yes, yes, 'cause we got to talk about this, honey. Let me see. Um, all right, so I think let me make sure. Okay, all right, yeah. All right, so we'll give it, it's 8 o'clock, so we'll give it a couple of more minutes before we get started. So y'all come on in, make yourself comfortable because this is going to be a very good conversation. Bring your questions, your comments, because we are going to have some fun tonight. And we want to hear what you have to say. Because I know you got something to say, honey. I know y'all got some things to say. Hey, Desiree, this is going to be good, girl. Listen.
No, I must not be on the comment section.
This she on YouTube.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So it's 8:01. I'm ready to jump in. So hey Janelle, hey girl. All right. So we just gonna jump in because we got a lot of things to unpack tonight. So
okay.
this is your first time tuning in. My name is Siobhan Carter. I am the You Relationship Coach. And what that means is I am passionate about all things concerning relationships, especially the relationship that you have with yourself. And I have the pleasure of being joined by, he's not new to the platform because he's been on here twice already. So I have the pleasure of being joined by my good friend Reggie Puifory. And Reggie, introduce yourself. Tell the people something about you.
Hey, I'm Reggie. Like she said, this is my third time on the broadcast. I just happy to be here. I enjoy talking about relationships also. So, it's always a pleasure when she invites me on her show.
All right. And so we're going to jump in. So we're talking about these PS5s. I've seen a lot of posts about PlayStation 5s and women buying these for men. And every day I post relationship scenarios on my personal Facebook page and my Instagram page. So I posted one yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday about a woman buying PS5s. And so that sparked a whole conversation, a lot of comments from women. And I'm going to get into the scenario in a few minutes, but it just sparked a whole conversation. And Reggie and I had a conversation offline. And so I was like, I think your perspective, like the women probably need to hear what a man has to say about this topic. So we brought it on live tonight, and that's why we're talking about it. And we're going to talk about some other topics that usually divide men and women. So we want to hear from you. So women, I ask that you have an open mind tonight. Just try to listen, but also,
Please.
take it easy on the brother. But share your opposing views if you have them, and comment your questions and your comments because that makes it interactive and it makes it fun for the discussion tonight. So let's get on in. Let's talk about this scenario. So you've probably seen it circulating around social media, but it says so. My man's girl bought him a PS5, and that's a PlayStation 5 for those that don't know what we're talking about. And he sold it. So the man's girl brought him a PS5 and he sold it the same day. Now he's ungrateful and all types of bleeps. That's what she's calling him. And it said he used the money to buy a ring. So the question is, ladies, what what is your perspective on this? You buy your man a PS5. You think, you know that's something that he enjoys doing. So you're like, you know what? I want to do something nice for him. I'm going to buy him this system. And then he sells it the same day that you give it to him. He sells it, and then you get all mad. You call him all things under the sun, and then he tells you that he used the money to buy a ring. What are your thoughts about that? So you can chime in and I'll tell you just some of the things that the ladies were saying. Basically, the ladies were saying they feel like they bought their own ring. They do not like that. Why did he use the gift money to buy her the ring? And it didn't even say her, so we're hoping it's her. But it's like, so the women were mad about that. So ladies, chime in and tell us how you feel. But I want to hear from a man's perspective. So the women are saying, I basically bought my own ring, so that's unacceptable. What would you say from a man's perspective, Reggie?
Well, from a man's perspective, again, like we said offline, PS5s are like the hottest new item out for men of all ages, kids, men, whatever. If you're a gamer, PS5 is the latest and the new hot thing. Again, it's hard to get a PS5. So when I first seen it, I was kind of up in the air about it, but then I seen the bigger picture. He sacrificed something that, he actually wanted. He actually gave up something that he actually wanted, and in the sign, I guess, of gratitude to be like, oh, my woman is very special. I'm going to sell it and now actually buy something that she will want. Mm-hmm. And I guess when I thought about it, I'm like, he's doing this and he's trying to show her, but and like I told you before, a PS5 is $500. If he brings you a $5,000 ring, of course he had to even add to it. And even if he sold it for more than it was worth, because they're doing that, he still had to add to it. So it's not like you contribute or actually bought the ring. He actually bought the ring, but he sold it to let you know that he loves you more than he loved that game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're saying that in a man's mind, so a man's logic was just totally different from a woman's, logic. So he's saying, I know that she wants me to have this, but I want her to know that she is more important to me than this game. So I'm going to sacrifice it by selling it and using it to buy something for her because I love her just that much.
Yes, that's more so what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think my problem is I feel like more women are getting caught up that it was a ring that they bought. Uh-huh. I wonder if that same logic would apply had it been a trip I decided to take you on. Had I sat here and said, look, babes, I sold the PS5. Pack your bags next week. We got an all-inclusive trip to Aruba. Let's go out. Everything on me. We good. I'm wondering if your perspective would have been the same way had it really been something totally different. I feel like everybody hears the sentiments of a ring. Oh, he proposed to me. I basically bought my own goddamn ring. No, you didn't. Regardless if you contribute to it or not, no, you didn't. He literally gave up something. Like he really gave up something special for that ring.
Okay. All right. So I think the reason why we say that we bought the ring because we bought the gift, right? So if I paid $500 for the PS5, I don't know how much he got for the resale. He could have got $500 or he could have got more than that. And even if he didn't add anything to it, let's say he got double, he got $1,000 for it. So he goes and buy this ring. Then I put $500 into it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think from a woman's perspective, it's just like, why didn't you sacrifice your own money? Like, why did you have to use? It just seems so convenient.
I mean, yeah, in a way you would say, okay, well, I contribute $500. Regardless of how much he sold it for, right. In your mind, you contribute $500.
Right.
But at the same token, let's hypothetically say that I bought you this ring the day when you gave me that gift. It happened on Christmas. I bought you the ring, you had your ring, and I got the PS5. Let's say a couple of days from then, again, I took you on that trip. Would you have that same like thought if I say you like, how could you afford this? Oh, I went in and sacrificed the PS5. Because that's why I said I feel like more people are just upset about it being a ring.
Yeah.
But if I sold that PS5 the following day after I gave you the ring and then took you on a trip, would you still feel upset or would you still feel ungrateful?
Okay, ladies, y'all gotta chime in because that scenario is crazy because it doesn't sound as bad as. So I think it's just what we make it mean about the ring and how just in our minds what we want the whole experience to be like. Like he saved up the money, he bought this nice ring, and then he used that to propose as opposed to me feeling like I contributed to something. It's like you just want to feel like he's putting in the effort and the energy to do it himself. But I want to go into some of the comments because the ladies are chiming in. Let's see what we're saying. So Desiree said, I'm going to pawn the ring to get my money back.
Patty, tit for tat. You know that's not right, Desiree. You cannot be tit for tat. That's terrible. Like really.
So she said she could have sacrificed to purchase. Right. And so that's another thing. Like if this system is hard to get, what does she have to go through?
I wonder. PS5? What did you do for this PS5? Right, what did she do for this? You might don't deserve that goddamn ring. But, but no, I get it. I do get the sentimental value of your ring. Or I do get, again, like what you had to do to go by and get it. But you're not seeing the guy's perspective is how much he's sacrificing. You don't know how much this guy wanted the PS5. Like you don't know how blown away he was, and in a sense of sacrificing, he's like, you know what? I'm assured that I love her more. I'm actually sell his game and do something for her. And then maybe it's just the ring, or is it that you sacrificed or that you bought it?
And I want to know from the ladies, what is your real issue with it? Because I really want to get to the heart of why is this? I know you're saying, oh, I basically bought my own ring. But if you had to dig deeper, what is your real issue with this? So chime in and tell us what your issue as I go through some of these comments. So Janelle says, my first thought was maybe he's not into games, but I see now that he brought a ring with it. That's a good point. But why not communicate with her and say, babe, I feel like XYZ? So she said, why not communicate?
Well, because just like you bought the game. Now, first of all, if you bought your man the PS5 and you don't know he's in the game, the problem lies with communication right then and there. That was a waste of time from the get-go. But second of all, again, if he's into games, he wanted to be a surprise also. You surprised him with the game. He wanted to surprise you with the ring.
Okay. All right. So Janelle also says, who's to say the ring wasn't on layaway? So maybe he had the ring and this was just the rest of the money to get it out of layaway.
It's Black Friday. Imagine if he was able to get that ring on sale. They like, listen, if you put down XYZ, I can give you this ring for half the price. I ain't got it. The only thing I got is a PS5. Dang, I got to give up my PS5. That would make a guy get more upset because he like, do you know I sacrificed this goddamn PS5 for this ring? I ain't even want the goddamn ring. The ring ain't even for me. Like, but you gotta. Here's the thing. I think it comes down to how much you know your man. If you know your man is a gamer, somebody who lives to play video games, and he sacrificed that, trust and believe he gave up a lot. That's just in my mind. He gave up a lot if he's somebody that's a gamer.
Now, I will say, in response to that, I will say I have dated someone who was an extreme gamer. And so if he did, knowing how much he played, if he did that, that would speak volumes to me. So I don't know if I would have been as frustrated or irritated by that, because that would have said a lot, for him to do that. So, I think there are a lot of things that you have to consider, like the relationship dynamics. Who is this man? Now, if he's the type of person that does this on a regular, like he's just cheap, he an opportunist, and he just wants to use people or something like that, then I can see this being just another thing that adds to the dysfunction of the relationship. But if he's a good dude and he's like, you know what, I'm trying to find what can I do to let her know how much I love her and I appreciate her, then perhaps this could be. But I still think it's a sore subject.
What are the rest of the comments? Let's.
So Janelle says he was being selfless. Okay. All right. Gary Tripp says PS5 equals love.
Yeah. So me giving it up gives up like equals love.
Yeah. So I guess we have to look at that, ladies, from that perspective. I know you're saying, but I'd sacrifice all this to get this PS5, and he's using some of the money that I put into it. And I totally
jerked the food niggas off for this PS5, and now,
right.
now look what I had to go through. Right. And you up here gave that? No.
So it's like,
kiss a few frogs to get this PS5. Like,
oh man. So Desiree says ring or trip if purchase a high price item, those don't grow on trees. So it's like, it's almost like you're disregarding the sacrifice that the woman had to make. So I think that's the perspective that we see it in. It's like, dang, well, you just, okay, but you don't understand what I had to go through to get this, and you just give it up.
But again, yes, but then again, this is the problem with men and women. Our logic of what we're seeing is how much we are willing to sacrifice.
Right.
Again, like you just said, you dated a gamer. The game was what he did.
Yeah.
He was willing to sacrifice that. I mean, listen, I was willing to sacrifice my happiness for your happiness.
Yeah.
And that's really what guys see, and why guys like, shoot, he gave up a PS5 for a ring. Because here's another thing. Now, just like you said, here's another thing. I could have kept the PS5 and bought a ring months from there. Like whatever the money, what's the name I got for the PS5, I could have bought it months from now. But in a way of trying to show you how much more you meant to me, I wanted to sacrifice the PS5. In our eyes, us giving up the PS5 was showing a sign of sacrifice. That was more of how most men see it. Not necessarily, him being cheap or whatever. I'm giving up the PS5 to show you how much more I'm willing to sacrifice for you. That's it.
I can't disagree with it. Because I can understand. I understand from a man's perspective how that is huge. So I want to get into Gary's comment. He says they had a similar episode on Everybody Hates Chris where she got mad about a credit card he had for 10 years, and she found out, but he got it to buy her a ring. Then paid it off.
Yes.
So ladies, if he's short, what's the problem? Okay. So
I remember that episode.
He had a credit card for 10 years, and she found out that he got it to buy her ring.
No, she was mad because she thought he was hiding it from her. And the whole entire time, he only got it to buy her a ring, but he never used it after that. Once he paid off the what's name, he never used it after that. But she kept like, nah, you hiding stuff. And he's like, nah, I only did it for this purpose. Like, because of what I wanted to show, what I wanted to provide for you. That's it. Sometimes it's different ways that people sacrifice.
It's different ways that sacrifice. So
he didn't have a PS5 back in those days.
Right. So let's talk about this notion of men and video games, because I think that's another thing that can be a sore subject, because a lot of us have probably experienced men who just spend a lot of time on video games to the point where they were sacrificing, growing and maintaining the relationship because of these games. So can you tell us as women, like, what is it about video games? How does a man see it? Like, why is this so important to him?
Men see video games the same way women see chocolate and wine. You ever come home from a hard day and you like, you know what, I need me a glass of wine, or I need me some chocolate. A lot of people don't realize, it's two types of hormones that your body puts out. Your brain puts out endorphins, which controls your mood, controls your happiness, controls your sense to pain, and testosterone. These are two hormones that's in everybody. Men have more testosterone. That's why we got beards. That's why we're more masculine and all these. But endorphins controls everybody's happiness. endorphins. And when we play them games, you ever look at a guy's face when he's playing the game? He's literally in the game. Like I remember when 2006, I still got the game because I was in love with it. It was Madden 2006, and the game was so realistic at that time, where I think it was one of the first times where you could create your own player, you could put your name on the jersey. The guys start off, and when I say it really put you in the game, they gave you your first apartment, and it was a little rundown apartment. And as you got better and better, you got a better apartment, then you got a house, then you got all these different endorsements. The average guy, I don't care what it is, the average guy would have loved to be able to play a sport for a living. Not just the financial benefits, it's just our competitive edge. You see guys now, you go out to a basketball court and you still see guys in their 40s playing basketball.
Right.
So these video games give us our outlet for one, and it takes us back to our childhood age of something that we feel like we could have done. Like that's how we are really look. If anyone y'all dating the guy this game or look at his face when he playing that goddamn game, especially when he winning.
It's intense when I tell
zone in. Him on the mic, especially if he got people on the mic. Him on the mic as he cursing people out and going back and forth. Yeah. He is literally living out his best life.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And it builds, like I said, it builds endorphins. Like when guys play the game and that endorphins come out, it's just like a drug addict, an alcoholic, a sexaholic. That endorphin is what drives us to keep playing and want to play. It's our happy place.
Okay, all right. So, ladies, okay, let's break this down then. So, from that perspective, if a video game, if a system is like his happy place, a place where he can come home and unwind and just kind of check out, for a bit and just, tap into that competitive side of him and get those, that adrenaline flowing and all that kind of stuff. And he's saying, I'm willing to give up all of that.
Give up that.
For you, like that's huge, right?
Yeah.
If we really think about it, if we put things to the side. Now, like I said, there are some other things. You got to look at the totality of the relationship. So I don't know if there was some other stuff that the guy was doing that this added to it. But if this was the only thing that rubbed you the wrong way, then it's important to look at what this means to him and what he's really sacrificing. And I just think, hearing that and hearing what a video game means to a man, maybe that.
It's like some of y'all who come home and watch chick flicks.
Yeah.
A lot of you women come home from a hard day and y'all want to watch a romantic movie and get you in that spirit. Like, them video games are our chick flicks. Like, that's our chick flick.
Like the Hallmark channel. Like, I don't watch the Hallmark channel, but a lot of women watch the Hallmark.
Lifetime. Like one of them Lifetime movies that you watch. That is our Lifetime movie right there.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, all right, let's see. Somebody said, so I want to get to what Janelle says. She says, I feel like if he at home playing this game, he's home with me, I'm grabbing a controller too. So some women feel like, well, at least he's not out there in the streets, so I'm going to join in. She said, shoot, I might learn how to play and bust his butt too, So there are some women that would just join in on the fun, and just use that as an opportunity to bond with their mate. And Tripp says, so true, that old man was so great as you were describing.
It was the best one.
Describing that. So Desiree says, it's their vice. I don't mind it as long as I get my time. And I think that's when it becomes an issue, when the man is so engrossed in the game that he starts to sacrifice time with his woman. That's when it becomes.
I guess because of a game, one game of Madden I'm playing on, I think about 6 or 7 minutes. Yes, it'll take about 45 minutes. And of course, this is not real football, so I can play 5 games of Madden, and it's different teams, different situations. So it's entertaining to us at all times. I do understand that you got to have a balance. That's natural.
Yeah. So Dot is like, look, no, that's stupid. She ain't here for it. She don't care what you're saying about this little game. is stupid to her. So she says, I can't manage that energy outlet he needs. Keep his game. I'll keep my peace. Okay, Dot. Boo,
But
you
that's that double standard. You want what you want, but you can't give him what he wants. Again, I think it is time management, and you gotta manage your time wisely when you're dating. But when you give him his time, his free time to unwind. That's what we do to unwind. Playing games, like yeah.
Okay. All right. Chris says, I used to beat you on that man.
He used to cheat on that man all the time. That
Chris
was the
like,
cheating
first of all,
yeah.
put that out there. Okay, Chris. She said, I can watch episodes for my man for just as long as he can stay on the game. We good. Okay. All right. She said she'll find something else for her to do. And Tripp said he has to be balanced. I usually pick times she's at work or going to her hairdresser. And I think that's Dot says she's agreeing. I think that's the main thing. Like, from my experience, there was an imbalance. And it just seems like the game was more important than, building and growing our relationship and the quality time. So I just had to, let him have his game, and I'm going to be gone.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people can be so involved in the game and so in that world that you lose sight of reality and what it means to build relationships. So I think, it's just I don't know. It's tough. All right. Okay. So we talked about this video game situation. We talked about this scenario, but I got another scenario since we're talking about women being so generous, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing. So here's another scenario that I posted the other day. You asked her, so fellas, you asked her on a date, you meet up and have a great time. The waiter brings the $250 bill. The bill costs $250. I don't know where they have a 5-star restaurant, I guess, and a whole lot of alcohol, perhaps. Yeah. And it's already paid by her. She stands up and asks, are you ready to go? As she tells you she enjoyed her night. Fellas, what's your next move or thought?
I think for me, it would have caught me off guard. One, now let first understand one, if I went somewhere and I was paying $250 from the jump, I would have been thankful that you paid. That's the first, like, what the was that Kevin Hart? Like, I gotta look at it closer in the light. Like, is that a zero on the back? But I think if to do that, I think the scariest part about somebody doing that is wondering what's going to be her expectation of me later on. Okay. Like later on, like, she paid $250 for a meal. Cool. Not that big of a deal to her, like I'm balling. It's cool. I got my income tax check back. Whatever reason was. Now, as a competitive edge, men are unintentionally, but now I'm saying to myself, like, dang, I'm gonna have to spend about $300 the next time. Like, I'm gonna have to outdo this to make her know, like, because you see her as a keeper. Okay. But then you wondering if you can afford that type of like dang, I got to do something bigger than what she did. Mm-hmm. Like, and if it's not just a special time, if that's her norm, like $250 ain't nothing. You gotta understand if this is somebody you willing to date, because she's gonna expect in this type of dating regular, like, this got to be that free check that y'all get, not that it can't be on rent time. Like, boo, we can't, because I know how you like, So yeah, it all depends.
So it's interesting. So I guess he asks her out on a date. They go to this place. So it sounds like he's got to be aware of the menu. I'm sure he checked it out to see. But I'm just wondering, from a woman's perspective, what do you think about this, ladies? Because I have heard women say, I'm not. You don't put how you start is how it's going to end up. Like, if you're doing all of this up front, then you're not giving him space to be a man and to court you and all that kind of stuff. So, ladies, I'm curious to see and hear what you think about this scenario. Would you have
yes.
Paid for this date? And so Tommy says, why is she a keeper? Because she paid the tab?
Yeah, because it is true. Because she paid the tab, not just because she paid the tab. it's more so because women don't like to pay for nothing when they go out for a guy, because the perspective is men are the providers, men supposed to pay the bills, men supposed to do all this XYZ type stuff. So when a woman when you meet somebody and they steps away from the norm, it's like anybody else. It's like if it's like 10 guys come in your DM. All 10 of them hit you with the, hey, how you doing, beautiful? Hey, how you doing, queen? Hey, how you doing, luscious? Hey, and then one guy comes say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I think you're beautiful. I would like to take you out on a date. I guarantee you he's staying out way more than the what you doing and hey, beautiful type stuff. And she may felt like at that moment she wanted to stand away from the rest of the women. Like we all had this thing where we always felt like some women use dudes for food. And it happens. Like, you keep using it. You probably got them in your phone saved as free food. Like, I mean,
not saved as free food. Wait,
free meal. What we call free meal up? You don't even know his name. You call him sweetheart and baby on the whole date because you don't know his name. That's
right. But I want to hit on something that Janelle says, because I want to know from a man's perspective, and men out there chime in so that you can back Reggie up what you think. But she says she seemed a bit aggressive. She paid it and she was like, okay, let's go. Like she's taking the lead. So is that a sign of a woman that's being a little bit too aggressive or controlling?
No, I mean, unless she grabbed me by my collar and yanked me, hey, it's time to go. Like, no, I still had the option. Like, if he was bringing the bill, I guess we gotta be a little more forward thinking. If he was paying if they was asking for the waiter to come to pay the bill, then evidently they was already had intentions of leaving. Okay. So I guess you gotta like not look that deep into it at that particular time. It's not for sure at that time, but if I already, excuse me, waiter, can I have a bill? Then evidently we was already preparing to leave, or somebody was preparing to pay. So, Okay. And in his mind, if he feel like she paid, he might think he about to get lucky tonight. Like, what? Oh yeah, it's time to go. Like
now that's what. So when I posted this on my page, a lot of men were saying that they would, thank her and then try to find a way to return the favor. Another man said he would hug her and slip the $250 in her purse. Another man said, all right, so we about to get it in tonight because I got a whole lot of thanking. Yeah. So Dot says, nope, not my fault. Date according to your budget. I'm not reaching for my purse. If you chose a place you can't afford, trying to impress me. Yeah.
But again, in that situation, I am somebody, and I say this all the time, I only go to places in the budget. If I ask you out to, let's go to Starbucks and get a coffee, if we just meeting, then trust and believe I'm saying to myself, I'm not just spending my money on you just yet. I will gradually, go up as the getting to know you, proceeds. But from the jump, we're not going to no steakhouse and all this type of stuff. No, I can't do it. We're going to one star.
Yeah. I'm a little weird. I probably am a little different from most men who probably like to go to a nice restaurant. I think I'm on the coffee date too, because what I don't want you to do is show me your wallet and all this stuff you can do for me. I want to know who you are. That's what I'm really concerned about. And so let me talk to you about that before we get into this is what I can do. So I think I'm more of a gradual person too, because I might not like you after this coffee date. So don't spend your little money on me, because I need to see, how we vibing. So I got to see what's going on. So Desiree says, I see nothing wrong with it. I've done this before, and he returned the favor. Okay.
Exactly. Because he's going to feel obligated. No offense.
Yeah.
But he is. But also that coffee date actually give you time to converse. You can't converse when y'all both trying to stuff y'all mouth. And, I always thought it was weird to go on first dates at the movies and out to eat where y'all can't really conversate. Like, I shouldn't take you to a lounge on our first date. The music loud. We got to keep reaching in. That's the weirdest stuff if you really want to get to know somebody.
Yeah. So Janelle says she's Grouponing. Yep.
Bam.
Doc says we can go to Lowe's. Right.
Yeah,
keep it chill because we trying to fill each other out. I don't want all this because then if we go to a lobster and steak place, then you gonna be expecting something.
Yeah.
Let's
You see this bill?
right.
I want the bill. I want them to put the bill in the middle, and I
Yeah.
want to fake like show you as I pick it up and then look at it. Oh, that ain't nothing, you know. Throw my card down. That ain't nothing. You good?
Like don't put on for me. Just be yourself because I want to
tax
know the
time.
real you. Right. You know, let's see the real you. All right. So while we're talking about eating, let's talk about this PF Chang situation. So another post I did this week was okay. So, or no, this was last week. I think I posted it. So the guy says, I recently went on a date with a nice woman. We had dinner, drinks, and a great conversation. As the waiter brought our bill, my date asked me, could I buy 2 takeout dinners for her kids? I said no because I don't even know her kids. She had an attitude for the rest of the night, so I cut the date short. Question: was I wrong for not buying her kids I never met dinner? And was she asking for too much too soon?
I seen this in 2 different ways.
Okay.
You know, first from a male's perspective, I seen this as, you know, I not necessarily that I don't know these kids. I got to look at the value of you as a person. Why the heck did you come out on a date without feeding your goddamn kids first? Like, why all of a sudden you out on a date and you eating, and then all of a sudden, oh, my kids ain't ate. Could you, you know what I'm saying? Could you buy them something also? From a guy's perspective too, yeah, I might not like you or your kids after this date. Like, what is this now? I can't. I'm sure as a guy. I sure as a female, if the shoe was on the other foot and me and you went out and then you heard me order 2 stuff and I said, well, yeah, my kids at home, I'm gonna take them something to eat. Why did I leave out and go on a date without feeding my kids? You know.
Well, maybe just thinking, maybe they had a sandwich earlier, and then maybe they look, maybe they went to the movies and then they went to PF Chang. So that's a long day. They had something to eat earlier, but then by the time she gets home, they're gonna be hungry again. So maybe she just wanted to make sure that they ate again.
Hold up, eat a bowl of cereal. You not PF Chang. Like, I'm taking out your mother. Nuh-uh. I haven't took you. I'm not taking no kids to PF Chang. I take the kid to Dave and Buster's, Red Lobster. Like, I'm not taking kids to PF Chang. That is dead right then and there. So being though I'm not taking kids to PF Chang, I'm daggone sure not paying for no goddamn kids and no PF Chang. Y'all ain't never ate Chinese food before. Now all of a sudden, y'all been eating out the curry out all y'all life. Now all of a sudden, PF Chang is all y'all eat. Heck nah.
That is right. So she said you have not because you asked not. I'm just asking.
No. Here's the thing. I will say this. I will see it from an other perspective. Some women do believe it's the show that was just on. Not put a ring on it. Ready to Love. Yeah. And the woman on Ready to Love, one of the things that she clashed with a guy about is because she was like, me and my kids are a package deal. Like, you got to take care of all of us. And I do understand that perspective. If I go out to eat, my kids come out to eat. So I got to know if you're willing to take on this excess baggage. This is when you as fellas realize that, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this. I don't feel comfortable with this. This is not a life that I want to lead. I'm going to always have to take the kids out with us. Nah, the kids ain't eating PF Chang. Bologna and cheese, peanut butter and jelly. Kids don't eat PF Chang. Like,
Okay. I think the fact that she had an attitude about it adds a little bit more to, like, she really had an expectation for him to do this. Like, and she had an attitude the rest of the night because he didn't do it. So it's like, that's you asking a bit much from this man. These not his kids. But let's see what the people are saying. So Desiree says she should have paid for her kids' meal. Okay. All right. Tommy says she seems like an opportunist. All right.
Free food. I'm in there as free food.
For me and my kids. Right. So Samantha says no, he was not wrong at all. And she definitely asked for too much too soon.
Basically.
Okay. All right. Desiree said they wanted grown folk food. Okay.
Exactly. No PF Chang for them.
So Janelle says, sis, what made you think that was cool? Like I said on the post, she should have ordered it before for the bill came and offered to pay. And I think that's the thing.
I think that was also the thing. Yeah. A guy would see consideration in that.
Yeah, just to say, I'm about to order something for my kids. Now, if he offered, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't off the gate. That's a little much for me. She says, Samantha says, if he knows about the kids and suggests to her to bring food home, then no problem. But she should let him offer first instead of asking first. Right.
She should have, go ahead.
So Dot says they home alone and hungry. She out of pocket.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But here's I would have felt more better if she say, "Hey, look, when we on our way home, is it possible you can stop at McDonald's, grab a couple of Happy Meals or something?" Okay, it's a little $5-10 meal, ain't that bad of a deal. But just like Dot just said, they home alone and they hungry. What the hell? Like, why is your kids hungry at home by themselves? No. And of course, I guess we talking about teenage kids or kids old, because if you got a babysitter, they should have fed them there. But if they're like, let's say it's a 12 and a 13-year-old sitting at home, like, yeah, y'all cool. Nah, y'all fix some cereal with some bologna and cheese. Y'all don't, y'all ain't grown folks food. But that's racist. Grown folks food.
So Chris says, grand opening, grand closing. Right.
Facts.
Meeting you. Good night. So Rachel, yes, we discussed the PS5 situation already. We talked about that early on.
You're going to have to look at the recap, Rachel. You're going to have to look at the beginning.
It was a lot. We talked about a lot. So Janelle says she's trying to find him a daddy. Yeah.
Evidently.
She's trying to.
She better find a real daddy.
Okay. So while we talking about daddies, this scenario was a doozy, and it brought a lot of divide between men and women. So let's talk about it. So it was a series of texts that somebody posted that talked about a little girl. So a mom texts a little girl or a teenage girl. I don't know how she was. Yeah. She texts her mom and she says, "Mom, can you please come and get me? I don't want to be here." So her mom says, "What's going on? Where y'all at?" So she says, "We will talk when you pick me up." She said, "Okay, well, tell your dad to meet me at Walmart with you." So the little girl was at her dad's house. So the little girl says, "Can you just come get me? I don't want to ride with him. He already saying I have a bad attitude." So she said, "What's going on, Ari? Send your location now." So then, hold on, let me get to. So then what happens after that? So she said, "I'll tell you when you get here, Mom." So she said, "Well, who address is that? Whose house is y'all?" So she sent her mom the address. And so Mom was like, "Well, where are you at? You're supposed to be with your daddy." So Ari says, "I'm at Monica's house." So she said, "I'm on my way." And who the hell is Monica? So Ari says, "It's his girlfriend." So Mom says, "Is she doing something to you?" And I'm 28 minutes from the location. And then Ari says, "I don't think she likes me." "Why is that?" Mom says. So she says, "This explains how she looks at me when my dad talks to me or tells me come give him a hug and kiss my forehead." So Mom says, "I'm on the way." So Ari says, "Okay, I'm about to get my stuff and go outside." So she says, "Okay." All right. So she picks up her daughter. So now the mom is texting the dad. So she says, Mom says, "Hey, so who is this girl that Ari don't like and feel comfortable around?" So he says, "Girl, I'm not sure who you're talking about, Trisha." So my dad says, I'm not with this. I don't know what you're talking about, Trisha." So she says, "Monica." So he says, "That's my woman, and why Ari wouldn't feel comfortable around her." So Mom says she don't like the way she looks at her. Dad says, "What are you talking about? Here you go making up stuff." So Mom says, "I can't make the things up. I don't know." So he says, "Bye. Let me enjoy my weekend with my daughter." So Mom says, "Where is your daughter, Mike? Where your daughter at?" So Mike says, "Downstairs in the living room enjoying herself." Mom says, "The lies you tell, so stuck up in that girl, you don't even know I picked my child up over an hour ago." So Dad said, "What you mean to tell me?" So you mean to what? You mean to tell me Ari had you come to pick her up from the house? Mom says, "Yep, she should have." So it just goes into a whole nother dialogue between the mom and the dad. So basically, Ari called her mom. She didn't like the vibe between her and the girlfriend. Had her mom come and get her. Mom came and got Ari and then texted dad later. So what's your perspective on that? Before you say that, a lot of the moms were saying, "I'm going to get my child. She don't need to be over there. It's crazy," or whatever. So they were team child, going to get my baby.
It was funny. I think that was on Saturday. I think seen that post, and I actually commented on that post and was arguing with quite a few people back and forth. I said that was, and being a father, that was horrible co-parenting.
Mm.
I understand the perception that you feel like your daughter is in harm's way. Your job as a parent to protect your daughter. Cool. But if from the article, it sounds like it was a teenager. I got my phone. Look, I'm gonna send you this location. Come get me. The thing about it is, the girlfriend don't like me because my father hugged me, kissed me. So my perspective is we can't say that the father was somebody, that didn't love the daughter. Him showing her affection is what causes the other woman some tension. Okay. My problem came strictly from the mom not communicating this to the father. If you wanted to come get your daughter and then have your daughter sit in the car while we talk face to face as grown-ups, then that's one thing. But for you to come, take the daughter and basically put us between each other and then take her on with you, that's a problem in itself. That's bad co-parenting itself. Not communicating with the other parent is bad co-parent. Matter of fact, if the father and woman is living together and the mother is finally here, we all need to sit down and have this conversation. Because if this is who you're going to be living with and my child's going to be around this person, when they come over, then we all need to have this grown-up conversation.
Okay. All right. So a lot of women in the post, I don't have kids, so I didn't have, a true perspective to share on this because I haven't experienced that. But a lot of the moms on this post were just like, whatever, I'm going to get my child, I'm going to make sure that she's okay. She calls and says she want me to come get her. I'm going to get her. And he should have told me he was living with somebody, that kind of stuff. So that's
the problem that most men see is what we act like don't happen is bitter baby mothers that's still not over a situation. And because of that, my daughter come first and you have no say so. Again, we gotta really be conscious on what we teaching our kids later on. Like that type of, I could just call my mother to get me out of situations without her even really questioning it. Like it when it comes to the other parent, that really causing an issue. Now I can understand some other type of abuse of any type like that. Had she ever said it, then that would have been something different. But she's like, oh no, I want to leave because this lady looked at me a certain type of way. She had something in her eye. You don't know how, but sometimes it's the kids who do not like the other parent or do not like their mother's boyfriend or their father's girlfriend, to where they make up these make-believe scenarios in their head and now put the parents against each other. And it's up to the parents to be a whole lot more responsible to actually have these conversations.
Okay. All right. Well, the people are chiming in. Let's see what they are saying. So Dot says kids mimic the emotions of the custodial parent. She's living her mom's emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Gotcha. Ronnie says Trisha should have called the dad before picking the daughter up. And I think, just from the outside looking in, it did seem like communication is what was missing. At least, like, she was gone for an hour and the dad didn't even know. So some people were like, well, he should have known. How he going to let her be down there for an hour?
Teenager. She wasn't in the cage?
Yeah, so it's a lot of that can happen. But it's just a communication. Like,
some of them don't know where their kids at now. Shoot.
Yeah. So Dot says dad is over mom's behavior being displayed by the daughter. Yeah. So Rachel says, I have an issue with the father not communicating that he was living with another woman and she didn't know about it.
But you can't dictate what's in my household. I just feel like that, like because I guarantee you, every woman don't tell every father what they're doing in their house. And I guarantee you, if your child's father was to come over, like, who stay here? Anybody in this house? You will have a fit. That's why I have a problem with it, because it's a double standard. You may have a fit had your child's father that you're no longer with come in and question who you have. Hey, look, I don't want certain people around my daughter. Make sure, whoever guy you meet, you bring them past me first. You would have a fit. That's a double standard. And women need to stop having this double standard. Yes. Women.
You about to, okay, they're going to get you. So Tommy she says, I agree. The mom should have had a convo before they left. One of the worst things we can do is show the kids division. They will manipulate every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So Ronnie says, you don't have to be bitter to want to know who your child is around, though.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. But at the same token, you gotta set boundaries for your kid to be able to put wedges through y'all relationship. You got to. You cannot let a kid. We all. I know how many of y'all remember y'all teenage years, but I am totally a different person I am from my teenage years. So to think that I'm mature enough to really say what's going on, like totally being in charge of where I'm at and what I'm doing. I needed my parents to say, hey, this is right, this is not. Let me and your father have this conversation with this woman so we can really get a understanding. Evidently, if the father and this woman is living together, this is a serious relationship. And y'all really needed to give it together for the future. That's it.
Okay. All right. So Desiree says, if the communication was lacking before, it wasn't going to work in this scenario. So that's what I see when I look at the messages between the mom and the dad. There was some tension there. He looked like, go ahead, Trish, I ain't arguing with you today. You know what I mean? So there was something, there were some issues going on even before this situation. So it just doesn't sound like they had a healthy co-parenting agreement in place. Okay, this is what we're going to do. It's just, there was some tension there.
But again, that's just like what Dot said earlier. She's mimicked that behavior of her mother. And that's really, and because of probably what she heard or realized how they go back and forth, she knew she could play that against the parents.
Gotcha.
That's what grown-ups need never to do, is one, ever have grown-up conversations and argue in front of their kids about their kids. Because once they see who favors what and who likes what, they're going to always use that to play each other against each other. It's simple.
Okay, so Rachel said, look, I understand the double standard, but in this case, this was not displayed. She is just finding out what is going on. She should know who her child is around.
Okay, but now that you know, why just take your daughter and then call them an hour later? Like why not say, okay, well, now I know, let's talk. Let's have this conversation. You at this person's house now. Let's have this conversation. It's still a mature way to do things.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So Nat says she has to trust the father's judgment as the co-parent.
Basically, that's facts. Now we from the sentiment that she gave every time he calls me over there to give him a hug or he kissed me on the forehead, that don't sound like a parent, a unloving father. That actually sounds like a caring father. So we can't use that as an excuse. So he may be some toxic guy, or he might be abusive. You can't use that because the sentiment that she gave, that he was a loving guy.
Okay. She could have been a daddy's girl and just like, look, I don't want nobody.
I don't want nobody else around here.
With my mama, you don't be with nobody. So Tommy says, exactly, we have to put up a united front. As parents, we can check each other later, but they don't need to see the divide.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Got it. So Chris says, women, how would you feel about another woman coming to your house without you knowing? On top of that, your man's ex.
Yeah. I guarantee it's a whole different ball game. Those double standards.
Now that's something. So this woman came to this other woman's house. She's the ex. She comes to this other woman's house. How would you feel if you were that woman?
Yeah. How would you feel as a woman? Like,
your house, you didn't even know them, picked up the child. That could be a
little. Yeah. But we don't have those discussion about those double standards. And that's what I really get offended of, because if the shoe was on the other foot and the daughter would have called the father and the father would have just came and got the daughter from her house, I guarantee you every mother would have been pissed. They would have blew a top. You came and got my, because now that it ain't our child, you came and got my daughter from my house without my permission. How dare you?
Yeah.
Like they would have, most of these women who up here talking and act like though the woman's so justified, they would have blew a goddamn gasket. Yeah, they would have did it.
Come to my house and pick up my child. You know that. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, if you already know. So Nat says the daughter was trying to wreck shop. Okay. So the daughter might have been being a little manipulative.
Mm-hmm. You know she was. Yeah. Trifling.
Maybe. She a daddy's girl. So
she need her ass whooped.
Don't do that. Don't do that, baby. Dot says knowing is required when your children aren't old enough to explain how they are being treated. Once they are about 8, your child needs to know lessons. Dad's house, dad's rules. Okay. Basically.
Because again, you as a parent, it got to be understood that you know that when your child is with their father, they're protected. Mm-hmm. Like I don't question anything my kid's mother or any guy my kid's mother and them date, because I believe in their will to always do what's best for my child. Mm-hmm. Like that ain't, regardless of how we feel about each other, at the end result, I feel like both my kids' mother would die for their kids first. So I don't have to question who's around them, because I know if nothing else, they're going to protect them to the fullest. And most women don't want to have that same line of understanding. You got to feel like, man, you with dad, listen, I don't have nothing to do with that. I know your father is not going to allow any harm to you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's, everybody not responsible. And so, and then I think it depends on the relationship, how it ended. Like if there was some bad blood, if there was some trust issues, then that carries into, unfortunately, I think it carries into how you co-parent with that person. So a lot of times it's the relationship dynamics that's bleeding over into the parenting dynamics, and it just creates a whole lot of dysfunction. Okay, so Dot says she wouldn't be welcome back at my house until my family and his ex set boundaries. I'd be horrified if his kid disappeared from my house without my knowledge and then pissed after learning her mom picked her up without letting us know. Yeah, that's,
What Desiree say?
Desiree says, yeah, came in, used the restroom, warmed up some leftovers, and rolled out without her knowing.
Yeah, it's bad. That was bad. Mm-mm. No, Desiree talking about cutting throat. No, I don't agree, Desiree. I don't agree.
Woo! So that's when you're talking about this co-parenting and these kids, that's a whole nother show in and of itself, because it's so many different dynamics that people are dealing with. One size does not fit all, but in this situation, it just sounds like communication was definitely needed, and that it could have been handled a little differently.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Mm-hmm. When co-parenting, communication got to be the key on, the rules that both of y'all are setting. Again, you gotta be able to trust both parents. Of course, if you feel like your kid's father is irresponsible and can't take care of y'all child on their own, it's one thing. Evidently, the kid, and from the article, like I said, I read it or the little message. Mm-hmm. Again, this father, they've been separated. This father evidently got his own place. And one of the things he said that I just thought about, he was like, this is my weekend. So evidently they've been together for some weeks, her and just the father. And maybe this is the first time bringing the woman in the circle. And like you said, now she's in her feelings. I'm a daddy. No, it's supposed to be me and my daddy. Right. I remember how my daughter was as a kid. She didn't like her mother holding my hand. Better yet, a new woman holding my hand.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And, I was like that with my mother. Like, so it was the opposite for me. I was like that with my mother, very territorial. So I didn't want to hear about no man coming up in that. Like, what? I don't care who he is. I don't know him. You know what I mean? So you do get an attitude with
you get a kids. They get attitude. Yeah. I don't want to be here.
Right.
He's smiling at her and he ain't talking to me.
Right.
Like, like it plays kids plays into that narrative. But like again, like Dot said, she's just expressing the emotions of her mother, something that her mother probably said. Because at the end of the day, if her mother talked bad about the father or talk bad about the whole situation, you hurt my mother. And this lady is interfering with my mother's happiness.
Yeah. All right, so we are at the end of the show. I appreciate you all tuning in. I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Reggie, for giving the man's perspective, because we really needed to hear that. And so I appreciate all of that. So tune in next week. We're going to be talking about Friends with Benefits Part 2, and then we're going to also talk about some more things. So I have my wonderful guests, Patrice Salmon and Kareem, on with us next week. So until then, see you later.